If you're not a full tenant, does that mean you have no rights at all? A lot of people think the answer is yes. It isn't. Quick note before we start. This is England only. This is general information, not legal advice, and your occupier status always depends on the specific facts. Right. With that said, English law actually has 3 tiers of occupier, not 2. And the middle one gets skipped over constantly. So here's what this video covers. The difference between an assured private tenant, an occupier with what's called basic protection, and an excluded occupier. Why 2 of those 3 still need a court order before anyone can put you out. And why even the weakest tier still has real protection against violence and harassment. If you've ever been told you're not a tenant, so you've got no rights, this is the video that checks that claim. Tier 1 is the assured private tenant. Exclusive possession, a proper tenancy, and since May 2026, that usually means an assured periodic tenancy under the Renters' Rights Act. Stronger security, a possession ground needed, a court order needed. But here's the bit that surprises people. Not every tenancy is an assured tenancy. Some tenancies and some licenses fall outside that full protection and land instead in Tier 2, basic protection. That's occupiers, whether tenant or licensee, who don't fall into any excluded category. They don't get the Renters' Rights Act protections, no rent control, no long-term security. But under the Protection from Eviction Act, 1977, a landlord still cannot put them out without a court order. Tier 3 is the excluded occupier. That's someone sharing actual living accommodation with a resident landlord, a genuine holiday let, certain hostel or asylum accommodation, or some rent-free accommodation. An excluded occupier can be asked to leave on valid notice without a court order. Here's the line that decides which tier you're on, and it trips people up constantly. Living in the same building as your landlord is not the same as sharing living accommodation with them. If your landlord lives in the building, but you don't share a kitchen, a bathroom, or a living room with them, you're very likely Tier 2, basic protection, and a court order is still needed. It's only when you genuinely share that kitchen or bathroom or living room with a landlord who lives there as their main home that you drop into Tier 3, the excluded occupier category, where notice alone is enough. So what does notice actually look like for an excluded occupier? Excluded does not mean no rules. If the agreement says a notice period, that notice period matters. If it does not, a periodic excluded tenancy usually needs notice linked to the rental period, while an excluded license needs reasonable notice. Once that notice has properly expired, the landlord may be able to recover possession without a court order, but only peaceably. That means no violence, no forced entry while someone is inside opposing entry, no threats, and no harassment. They should not dump, destroy, or withhold your belongings either. And belongings can raise separate civil issues of their own. Excluded occupiers have the least protection of the 3 tiers, but they are not outside the law. Since the Renters' Rights Act changes came in on the 1st of May 2026, this gap matters more than ever. Section 21 is gone, but only for assured private tenants. If you're an occupier with basic protection or an excluded occupier, the core assured tenancy protections, like Section 21 abolition and assured periodic status, do not apply to you directly, because they were never designed to. So if a landlord or a booking platform tells you you're not a tenant, so none of this applies, check which of the 3 tiers you're actually on before you believe them. And if you've been locked out, a council still has to ask proper questions about which tier you were on. It cannot just take the landlord's word for it. So here's the whole ladder in one go. Assured private tenant needs a possession ground and a court order. Occupier with basic protection needs a court order too, just not the full assured tenancy or Renters' Rights Act protection that goes with it. Excluded occupier needs valid notice, usually not a court order, but never violence, threats, harassment, or unlawful handling of belongings, and never before that notice has actually run out. 3 tiers, 3 very different sets of rights, and "you're not a full tenant" only tells you that you're not on the top one. It doesn't tell you which of the other 2 you're actually standing on. Which tier do you think you're on? Tell me below, and if you haven't seen the Airbnb and Booking.com video yet, that's the one that shows how a long booking can land you on this ladder in the first place.